What's up, guys? Welcome back to the MarbleCast. Today, our guest is Coach Dan Casey from New York Weightlifting Academy. I've known Dan for about 7 years now. He's an awesome weightlifter and a great national level weightlifting coach. He's got a ton of knowledge about the sport, and I'm super excited to get to talk to him today. So if you're excited, let's check it out. All right, welcome back to another MarbleCast. I'm Joe Marble, and today I'm joined by Coach Dan Casey from the New York Weightlifting Academy. Dan, what's going on, man?
My brother, good to see you. Not too much, just hanging out. Looking forward to this.
Yeah, man, you fucking look great. How you holding up over there?
I'm doing okay. Grew my hair out a little bit, so letting it go. Honestly, holding up well. I got no complaints. Life's been good. Really nothing bad on my part. Been using the time as productively and constructively as I can. So everyone's been doing well at the gym. The gym's been intact, so I'm doing well.
Awesome, man. So you own New York Weightlifting Academy, and how long have you guys been in business?
Let's see. We have been at our current location in business, I want to say going on, what was that? I guess like 6-7 years now.
Yeah.
And I remember when I first signed the lease, it was like I had no idea what to expect. And it was just like, I don't know how many years I should do this. I don't know. Like, even like the thought of like 5-6 years down the road was just, you couldn't even fathom that. And the time has gone so fast. It's like, I can't believe that I've been doing it and been at this spot as long as we have been. It's just like every year goes faster and faster. Even last year, like 2020, obviously everyone was locked at home. No one could do anything, travel. For a year that was so limited on being able to do stuff, it went by in a flash. So it's crazy. As you get older, time just seems to go faster and faster.
It's just flying by, man. It sucks.
Yeah.
I try to slow it down as much as possible.
Me too. You try to stop, breathe a little bit, but then all of a sudden you just got to get back running.
For anybody who doesn't know, Dan Casey owns New York Weightlifting Academy. He's in Thornwood, New York. Kick-ass weightlifting coach, badass weightlifter.
Thank you.
And I started working out with Dan maybe 7 years ago in what he had was a carpet store. And let me tell you, that was the best training environment that I've not yet been able to really replicate because of circumstances. But that was like the best training ever.
Like, for me too. Like, even though I lifted my best years later, like in the spot we are now.
Right.
But I mean, like literally everybody that was at the carpet store, those days are fabled and epic. Like, there's not one person that doesn't reflect back upon that and be like, man, the training there was just unbelievable. That was just, I don't know what it was. Maybe just because it was a unique environment or what, but like, that was, again, great training, unparalleled across the board.
I'll paint a picture for anybody listening or watching. So, I only went to this I only trained with you maybe 3 or 4 times because that's just what happened. But essentially, there was equipment packed away in a corner, and at 7 o'clock at night on Wednesdays, it would be rolled out, and everybody would help build makeshift platforms, and throw mats down, and we would just start lifting for 2 hours. Yeah. It was fucking awesome. And I think that's the way to train.
Yeah, I agree. And it was just straightforward, simple. I mean, nothing fancy about it. I mean, just had decent equipment. I remember just everyone running the plywood boards back and forth from the front. And, man, it's just, I got into such a system of being able to, like, the equipment I had on a roller pallet, it just kept accumulating more. So the thing get taller and taller and taller and taller. And somehow, like a pack rat, I was able to fit, the more I got, was still able to fit everything on top of it, including like weights. Not the bars I kept in the bathroom, but weights, all the rubbers, all the extra little stuff, had jerk blocks, squat stands, everything was piled up. It was at least 8 feet tall worth of equipment on this one skid. That was awesome, though. I mean, it's just such a novelty.
So talk to me about the evolution from where you started in the carpet store, or if you started before there, and where you are now.
Well, so I'll give you a background further on that to predate the carpet store. When I first met my buddy Mike, it was at a competition in Connecticut. I want to say in 2011, I think it was my first weightlifting meet. I think it was 2011. And it just turned out I just somehow got talking to him, and it turned out him and the guy that he was with were the only other people there from New York. So we just said, "Oh, okay, where are you from?" So we're all from the same area. It's like, no way. So they invited me to come train with them. Fast forward a couple months later, finally I called, I forget who, I think it was him. I think I called him up, be like, "Hey, look, can I come down with you guys?" So I went down to this place in White Plains. It was the basement of like an office building, one of the commercial office buildings. And I remember like going down there just like, man, where am I headed to? This is weird. Get in, and there's just like this little enclave of just weights and platforms. It was like, wow, the coolest thing I've ever seen to date, because I never really had trained at any place like that. So I guess that's where I first met Mark, and he had his whole setup, a little team going down there. And since that day, I was with him ever since. So kind of fast forward, the place where that gym was, there big disagreement between him and the owners. One evening we pulled all the equipment out and everything, and then we're just kind of looking for places to train. So I had a buddy who had a CrossFit up further in Mayapack, so I would manage to get in there a couple nights a week and bring some equipment in and train there. But then the carpet store my grandfather used to own, sold it to one of the guys that worked for him, and a bunch of people, myself down in Westchester, who wanted a place down this area to train. So I was like, can I rent the space after hours, when like just the open cutting floor? So I came to agreement with him, brought in some equipment as you saw, and that was really it ever since. So that was the start of it. And then I think at the same time I started doing more weightlifting seminars at CrossFits throughout. I was working with CrossFit Dynamics down in Astoria. And I just somehow got momentum, and the momentum kept building up. More people heard about the carpet store. I was introduced to more people, and they wanted to come in. So it just got to the point where then carpet store was filling up, and then just by sheer happenstance, I knew the landlord of the building. There was a women's gym next door to the carpet store that was leaving or being vacated. So I just literally rolled everything through the office door into the room next door, which is now the current New York Weightlifting Academy.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like in so many ways. Obviously, over a duration of time and persistence, it just kind of like everything worked out so wonderfully and so smoothly, and just kind of like fell in my lap how it all came about.
It's kind of weird how like you find a basement to lift in, and that was like the standard for weightlifting 10 years ago. And now there's a gym on every corner with a barbell club or some sort of makeshift barbell club, and people are really spoiled now to have your gym, my gym, anybody's gym that has real equipment, real weights. So it's go ahead.
No, it's just good. No, you're right, and it's like I think for like guys like you and myself, it's like we're in a unique spot because we're on the cusp of that. Because let's say 2011 or when we really started getting lifting and prior, that's when weightlifting was obscure. You couldn't find a gym, couldn't barely find a CrossFit to be able to lift into. Now, just like you said, you got gyms like yours, gyms like mine. It's like all the new people coming in are so spoiled from how we started. It's just like such an extreme contrast, and we're on both ends of that.
Yeah, starting and then CrossFit sort of like made that transition easier for a lot of people, because now you bring in a lot of people and introduce a lot of regular people to weightlifting, and it transitions them. I think the natural progression from CrossFit is either you get sick of doing burpees and running a mile and jumping on boxes, but you really like weightlifting, so you go to snatching and clean and jerking, or you really hate weightlifting, so you just go to powerlifting. So like that's the transition.
I think you're 100% correct with that. And it's nice because it's so nuanced with which direction people go as a result. And I mean, I think the best thing CrossFit has ever done was just change the physical culture of the country and the world, really, to change the focus of training, of the thought of training being as just going into a Gold's Gym and doing bodybuilding, and just smash that to where now training means everything that it really represents and what you see nowadays.
Yeah, it's definitely changed the gym industry for sure. And now like every other boutique gym is trying to sort of mimic it but change it in their way, and it's still adjusting. We're constantly evolving, so we're constantly chasing people down, and it's not easy. And you have such a niche gym with weightlifting. How do you keep people coming in and getting new clients to keep sustaining? Do you have issues
Honestly,
with that?
I wish I knew, and it'd be remiss to say that it doesn't go through my head at some point where I'm just like, how the heck am I doing this? I don't know. In some instances, I just don't know. I think Instagram is obviously a great one, but I try to reflect and like think like, how did I get interested in it? And it's like it's hard because it's like I can't put myself in other people's shoes to kind of figure it out. And I know I'm very particular in certain ways, but I guess it's the attraction of the sport in that it does attract a very unique individual, someone who's, I would say, is pretty cerebral, but also enjoys the physicality of it. And it just has I guess, a particular niche interest, which is what keeps people coming in. And obviously the technical component, the difficulty of mastery, and I think the fact that it is difficult is what draws people intrinsically, because I don't think there's really anything I could do to advertise or promote or anything along those lines that would really make people want to come in. Because let's say, and I'm not sure how it is for your gym, I'm sure you've experienced this though, how you have the two types of people: those who well, the moment they walk in the door that they're not going to last, and then the other type where when they come in the door that this person's going to stay because of just their personality and characteristics. So it's like the ones that don't last, I mean, they help pay bills for a little bit, but they ultimately don't last. You want to spend your time on the people who you could tell are really dedicated. So I think it's just, again, the CrossFit changing the physical culture and the predominance of weightlifting coming through and just having an intrinsic, what do you call it? Blank on a word. Just the intrinsic interest for someone to want to try that on their own. And then just being present, having a good facility that's easily accessible, I think helps foster that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I like you said, I honestly have no idea who's going to stay and who's going to leave when they walk in the door. I can't tell. Yeah. Because sometimes people walk in and I'm like, that person's never come back. They're here for 3 years. And then another person, I'm like, oh, they were super excited. They were loving every part of this. They're coming back. I'd never hear from them again. So it's really weird.
That's the truth too.
I can never tell what anybody's thinking. So I just assume they're never coming back, and I'll hit them up once, and if they don't follow up, then whatever. I let it go. It is what it is.
Yeah, that is an interesting one too. You have the ones that surprise you, where you think, oh, they're not going to, and then they end up staying. And then just exactly that, the ones that are super enthused, oh my God, I love this. This is the greatest thing I've ever done. And then vanish off the face of the earth. It's like, it's tough. You can never predict what people are going to do. You have no idea whatsoever. So I guess for us, we just have to try to put ourselves in a good position to be exposed to a volume of people to just try to cull and collect the good ones out of it and maintain them.
Yeah. And it's been, with the COVID and the pandemic, it's been harder to reach people. But I think a lot of people are starting to loosen up a little bit. The vaccine's getting out there, and a lot of people are just getting tired of sitting at home. Like, honestly, I could not work out at home. With a baby there, my wife working from home, or anything, like, I could not do it. I tried. I put the barbell in the basement. There was no ceiling height, so I had to snatch without standing up. I could only clean, no jerks, so I had to press from a bench. It was no fun. So I just came here. I started doing Zoom classes, and like you were saying before, how you would just go in the gym with a couple people, and as it got more comfortable, more people would come in. So that's kind of what I did. I started Zoom classes, and then a few people would be like, hey, can I just come in and work out? Yeah, sure. So pretty much from May,
that's great.
I had people in here, not like as classes, but not a ton of people. It was like 5 or 6, mostly the weightlifters, because you cannot weightlift at home unless you have a full gym. And that's
even then.
Yeah.
Even then, like, it's just like, if I, like, the days where I've trained alone at the gym, or even now if I have like random days where I train alone, my motivation is just like, you know what, I'm just going to squat and then leave. I don't feel like being here. Like, I just expedite everything. In fact, you have good training partners, the desire to train is just exponentially greater. And it's just, when I first started lifting, just like you were saying, it was lifting in my mother's basement. So it's the same thing. I had to make sure that the plates were between the rafters so I didn't hit the ceiling. Right. The snatch I could stand up, because it was just enough to clear it. Jerks, I could do jerks, but I couldn't recover from the split. I had to get into a low split so I could do that, and that was really the extent. But I mean, back then I was a nut job and I just wanted to train and kill myself. But now it's like, no one's there. It's like, I'll take a day off. I'm all right.
How do you balance the coach athlete in yourself? Like, a lot of times I'll be coaching classes, but then I'll be like, I kind of want to lift too. This looks fun. You guys are having a good time. I want to lift too. And once in a while I'll jump in. It depends on who's in the room. But, like, balancing the gym owner life, the coach life, the athlete life, it's a lot. So how do you deal with that?
That's a really good question, actually. I think it's partially because over the years training with Mark, it's been so conditioned to where I train at the times I train, the way that I train, and like with that, it's just kind of compartmentalized how I approach training and what I do. Because there are times where like, yeah, it's like, all right, this looks great, I want to jump in, and there are times where I do. Times where I have like, let's say, like before a holiday or something, everybody's at the gym, I'm going to miss a training day because of a holiday, so like, all right, let's jump in with everybody. And it's different because when there's a lot of people there, it's more or less just, it's not the same type of training for me, which I guess I think helps because it's less focused per se. Yeah, I think it's good to do because it's a different environment completely out of what I'm used to, which helps develop, let's say, just different more like meet circumstances where there's people around, there's a lot more noise going on. It's just different. It's out of your comfort zone. But it's usually something where, like, when I train, and I'm grounded those specific times, and then when I'm coaching people, I'm focused on that time. And the big thing, like, people always ask me, like, if I go to competitions, and I'm working with people, is how come I don't compete also? And I've realized long ago that, especially either to do well for myself or to be able to do well for other people, I will and have to separate them. So it's when other people are lifting, that's their time, and I'm devoted to them in one capacity. When I'm lifting, that's my time, and I'll devote that to myself into my own. So that's kind of how I approach it that way. So that way, because you can't do two things at once, I think, and it's very difficult to give proper energy to both. So that's why I'll just try to funnel one for the other. It's all coach, all athlete, and then just leave them separate like that.
Yeah, that's true. It's hard you can't do two things at once, and it's hard to like lift and then give instruction, and then it's like, all right, hold on, let me just put my weights down and just talk to you because you're having a lot of trouble. So a lot of times I'll lift with guys who don't need a lot of instruction. They just need somebody there to hang out with and lift with. And I find that to be when you have a more lax environment with those guys, they do better. When you're not on top of those athletes all the time, like, no, you need to fix this, you need to fix that, then they're constantly going to be looking for something to fix, and then it's no good.
Yes.
So I don't want anybody to constantly be looking for me to be like, you need to fix this. What did I do wrong? Listen, did the weight go over your head where your arms locked out? You did everything right. Yeah. That's all you need to do. Now fucking stop thinking so much and just do it.
Yeah, that's a great way to say it. I mean, because that goes to another good point, is that there becomes a time where people just become so dependent upon feedback that they just paralyze themselves and they can't do anything without that, which is actually, like I was just saying a moment ago, like training on the holidays or times when I haven't trained with Mark, which is also a good thing too, because now I have to look a little bit more onto myself to fix a flaw that I could feel or make the correction that I have to feel without having his external feedback coming to me. So I think there are a lot of pros and cons to that, but again, the more independent approach to take like that for yourself to be able to train, but also to benefit others, I think is a very good thing.
Yeah, I found that when I stopped giving a fuck, my weights went up.
Yeah.
And when I was able to just be lift stress-free and not like, hey, was that all right? Is that good? No?
Yeah.
All right, I'll fix it. And then I start thinking, like, what the fuck was wrong with it?
Yeah, it's just, you start hyper-focusing on it. And once you do that, it's just, like, done. And it's like, with a lot of newer lifters, you try to give them correction. They're just like, I got to do this. And then they're dead in the water. It's like, easy, back at town. Just think bigger. Don't worry about trying to be so precise right now. You still have to learn, so just try it without putting so much pressure on yourself.
When you're dealing with newer athletes, for sure you have to have a lot of instruction. So how do you deal with or take in your newer athletes, and do you have a intro process that you give them? Do you give them like a lot of instruction for a period of time, or is it a few classes and then they sort of jump into the group? How does that work?
I throw everybody into the mix right away. I really, the way my schedule is, the way the time frame is, I don't really have too much of, let's say, a luxury to break down different types of classes. Some people, maybe they'll ask for like a one-on-one session, so I'll accommodate that. But for the most part, I'll just have them come in and just go right into the mix, because I guess I'm afforded the opportunity to where, let's say, the more seasoned people, like we were saying, They need less overall feedback, less just like me staying on top of them. So being that they're a little bit more autonomous, that affords me the ability to spend a little bit more time with a newer person coming in. So I have them come in, just kind of see how they move based upon their do a certain warm-up protocol with them, see how they move with that, and then just kind of base the rest of the training session off of that. And I mean, some people most have like a CrossFit background, so they're familiar with how to move a little bit. So that makes it easier. And then, I mean, let's say if there's someone who's like a really new person, then I'll keep it simple in terms of not even going into the lifts directly, but just see how they squat, teach them like push, press, things like that. So that way I can try to keep the learning curve long and steady, as opposed to trying to just blast them right away, which allows me to slowly progress them further and further. So I think that makes it easy from an instruction standpoint to work with a new person, be able to continue to work with everyone in the same environment that's more seasoned, and then just going back to it, just integrate them right away from the start. And I think at least I enjoy doing that. I should say I enjoy that because I think it helps the new person coming in to learn what they're going to be experiencing, and there's no differentiation between, let's say, advanced or whatever you want to call it, because a lot of people come in especially if they're really new to it, they'll be intimidated by the environment, being that they don't know what to expect. But they see normal people doing something that maybe they're striving to do, and it ameliorates them to where they're not too worried about, oh, okay, this isn't as bad as I thought. I could do that too. This girl over here looks just like me. I don't know reason I can't be doing that too one day. And then it also helps because everyone's pretty friendly, so they'll maybe introduce them, speak to them, and it makes it accommodating to a new person. So I think the sooner and quicker that I can incorporate someone and make it inclusive, the easier it is to keep them.
For sure, the importance of them seeing seasoned athletes and just getting the hang of it, to just throw them into the fire, is probably the best way to do it. I mean,
yeah, I mean the only way to start is to start.
Yeah, I mean. So you did the seminars with a lot of CrossFits for a while. How did you get into that? How did you get hooked up with Dynamics when you were doing that?
It was, let's say, I think it was just a good point in time when I got started doing that. It was just, there weren't too many people really doing it. So I mean, outside of Dynamics, I just would just send emails out to gyms and be like, hey, it's just looking for a weightlifting seminar. Everyone would be like enthused by it, because at the time there was few and far between. Everybody was actually doing seminars. But how I got started with Dynamics is, again, another roundabout way. So my best friend that I've known since nursery school, best friend to this day, he was in the Marine Corps. He was stationed up at Stewart Air Base in Newburgh. One of the guys that he worked with, I think it was, I'm not sure, he was an officer of him. I'm not sure what their chain of command or relation was, but they spoke about lifting. The guy who was the officer, he did CrossFit. Actually lived down in Astoria and drove up to Stewart to work there. So my buddy introduced me to him, and he was training at CrossFit Dynamics, doing his stuff there. And I guess for whatever reason, somehow, I don't know how, I either worked with him once or whatever, he referred me to Justin at Dynamics, Justin Kotler, who owns it. And for whatever reason, Justin just, yeah, sure, contacted me, had me come down, do a seminar, and then just, it was, I guess, love at first sight. And we've been connected ever since. So that year started working with the team that they had. They won regionals, they went to the games, and that's basically how I got going around with that.
A good friend of mine was on that team, Dave Charbonneau.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah, I haven't talked to him in years.
He's hysterical, that guy.
Yeah.
What a trip. There was a lot of, that whole season, it was just so much fun. The whole box there, I mean, it just, such a positive, good energy. And it was like everyone wanted to be down there all the time. It was just, it was just a great time, great environment, great people. I mean, it was just probably one of the most fun times I ever had working in a weightlifting capacity with people.
Yeah, I mean, you're dealing with high level athletes, and in a strict sense, and I think they had like strict practices where they had to be there at a certain time for like 3 hours or something like that, putting in a lot of work.
Yeah, I would go there every Saturday, and work with them. It was team training. They would do all their heavy lifts. Like, that was when they would usually go heavy on the lifts. I'd kind of work them through all that, and then they'd do the workout afterwards and whatever the WOD was, and then afterwards everybody would go and we'd go out to like one of the bars or restaurants around and all get something to eat together. It was great.
That's such an important thing. Like when you have like a little small group and you just always hanging around each other, you feed off of that, and that's awesome.
Yeah, it was, and everyone was uplifting. I mean, it was a lot of positivity. I mean, tons of jokes, tons of just great fun times, and that's why I think why they did so well that year is because of the camaraderie that they had and just the enjoyment of it. I guess it was being that it was the first year for everybody too. There was an excitement of the unknown. And it was just, what a wonderful year. I think that was 2013, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, maybe. 2013 or 15.
Well, 15 was, it was, because they had the 2 years. No, 13 was the first year.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, because I think they did well at the games in 15, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, they did. That was like that super team that he had.
Yeah.
So, if I remember correctly. Yeah, I think that was because 13 and 14, it was basically the same team numbers. And then 15, Justin just somehow got a whole bunch of big guns come in, and they had like a crazy team.
Yeah.
So, worked with them all throughout those years for the most part. That was good stuff.
What was something that you see a lot of with maybe newer athletes that you deal with that you always correct? Even just on a snatch or a clean, like what's one thing that you're constantly like, okay, here's what you need to do, and it sort of like sets that tone for the athlete-coach relationship?
Let's see, I would say, well, two things. One is few people have like complete requisite flexibility. So if there's something you have to do to fix someone's flexibility so they get into positions better. The second one that you have to, that very few people actually understand what it means, and it took me probably years to really fully understand how to implement it, is just staying tight so you maintain position. Like, very few newer lifters understand what it really means to actually, how hard you have to work to keep your positions tight.
Oh, yeah.
So I'll walk up, yeah.
Especially coming from a CrossFit background or as your foundation. When you're doing a workout that has 30 snatches in it, you're not staying tight. You are just gripping and ripping and hoping for the best, and it is what it is. As long as you meet the standard, doesn't matter. When you're going for one rep, completely different story, completely different beast. Mm-hmm. Like you almost have to. You're just not. You're approaching the bar in a completely different way, and I do the same thing. Yeah. All of my weightlifting goes out the window when I'm doing CrossFit. It's just like, I'm going to fucking grip this shit and throw it up. I don't care.
Yeah. But just like you said, the standard's different. So being that the standard's different, you could get away with that. It's just the weights you're working with are not the same as if you're going for a heavy maximal attempt or so. So, I mean, it's just a matter of if a guy like you or myself, 95 pounds is not a lot to just throw over your head and not really be concerned about the position that you're trying to do, because all you got to do is just get it overhead, and that's for the most part something you do pretty readily. But again, when you're trying to go for a maximal attempt, and most people freak out and just try to go as hard as they can, then all of a sudden their positions are gone, they collapse, and they're just frustrated as to why they're not making it.
Yeah, it's all about that mental toughness.
Yeah, it really is. And being patient, to be disciplined with yourself, to continue to push that. Because otherwise, I mean, most people just get frustrated way too easy, and then once that happens, everything goes out the window. You got to. The weightlifting is a very good teacher for life in terms of how to control yourself in many, many ways, emotionally, physically, psychologically.
And on that point, I'm going to get into this last final topic. You and I both have a little bit of aggressive anger issues when it comes to some weights. So, what's the...
There's some videos out there.
What is like the most damage you've done after missing a lift?
Oh, Jesus. I mean, how much time you got? Let's see. I've broken windows, I've punched holes in walls, I've kicked squat stands through walls. I nearly killed Mark throwing a bench block across the room. I've broken multiple chairs. I've thrown plates, but nothing's ever really happened to them. Let's see, what else? I broke my belt, thrown my belt once. Jesus. What else? There's more to that, but yeah, I've done my fair share of damage.
Absolutely, we've melted down, guys. It happens to the best of us. But as we get a little bit older,
care.
Yeah, dude, I was so pissed off. I broke like 3 phones from snatching, just missing lifts. It's fucking terrible. But like,
and that's the temporary. Like, everyone's like, why don't you just scream? Or why don't you? It's like, no, you need to have just brutal destruction of something for a fraction of a second to satisfy yourself, and then right after that fraction of a second, the deep-seated remorse just sinks in and just floods you out, and you're just like, I hate myself even more.
Yeah, now I have to buy a new phone.
Yeah, I gotta fix this window, I gotta patch the wall. Yeah, it's like I need a new belt now. It's just one thing to the next. Mark, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to almost kill you. It's just like, yeah.
So like I said, when I stopped caring about hitting those lifts, my lifts actually went up. When I was carrying way too much and putting way too much pressure on myself, I was missing a lot. I make it a lot more now, guys. So keep that stress out of the way. Don't break any bones.
And that's what I try to tell people too. It's just like it's a long game. Not every day is going to be your best, so just take it in stride. Don't let it get to you. And I've gotten much better with that now. Now it's not like I gotta make heavier weights. Like if I'm not maxing out and being successful in whatever I'm attempting, it wasn't a good training day. Now it's like, I'll stay lighter, and if it feels really good technically, that's a victory.
Absolutely. And one of the best pieces of advice that I got from Mark Chasnov, this is who we're talking about, guys, so we'll have to reach out to Mark and see if he'll come on here one day.
Oh, yeah.
But the best piece of advice, I was at a competition with you guys in Connecticut, and he said, why do you get freaking out so much? It's just weightlifting. Best piece of advice ever. And he's right. It's just weightlifting, guys. It's recreation.
Yeah, it really is. It's like we're not going to the... And that's like now I'll dawn on myself. It's like, why am I even doing this? It's like I'm not going to the Olympics. I'm not getting paid for this. It's like, wait, calm down. This is supposed to be fun. Here you are. Like, I'm ready to spear a wall with just out of sheer frustration. It's like, you know what? Who cares? I'm crapping myself senseless over nothing.
Let's just hit those lifts, guys. All right, Dan.
Which meet was that, by the way?
That was probably 2015 Connecticut Open, something like that.
Oh, yeah. I think I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. That was a great time.
I think I went 2 for 6.
I mean,
one snatch and one
you made it. If you make a total, it's a victory. That's what I say. It doesn't matter how you make it. That's like when we did the American Open. We were out in the what was that, Valley Forge that year. That was another good meet.
That was awesome. I had a good time at that one. I was just fucking around the entire time.
Yeah, I got to reach out to him. I haven't spoke to him in a little bit. You remember Willie Nilly?
Yes, he talks every once in a while. He'll hit me up on Instagram.
Oh yeah, all right. I gotta hit him up. You should get him on the podcast. That'd be great. He was an interesting dude.
Yeah. I'll hit him up to see what he's doing. He's like,
dude, that'd be great. Dude, Farmer Stride. I remember he was telling me, he's like, yeah, today's my weightlifting day. Tomorrow I'm gonna go bike ride 60 miles. I'm like, what? How? Like, what's it? Like, I literally after a day of training, like especially when back before the pandemic, training with Mark. The day after training, I would just like lay on my living room floor and be like, I don't want to do anything. Like, let alone this guy's out running 60 miles. It's like, I'm doing something wrong. Either I'm not eating the right foods, or I can't even. I don't know what I'm doing.
That dude's strong, man. He's a big dude.
Oh, freak of nature.
All right, Dan. Thank you so much for coming out and talking to us. We'll be done with this. This podcast will be up about maybe 2 weeks, or I guess now, since you're watching it.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. Any last words of advice for anybody who wants to open a gym or who is owning a gym right now?
Oof. Well, this could go. All right. Well, if you want to open it, if whatever. Okay. If you want to do something in life, do it. Don't let anybody stop you. Don't let anything limit you. If you want to open a gym, open a gym. Don't do it on debt. Do it through value. Do it through creating something that's of worth to people, so you can early on get into it and know that you can make ends meet without having to worry later on. And as for COVID, just do it anyway. Don't worry about the government. The government just wants to ruin your life.
All right, guys. Thank you for watching. Age is inevitable. Weakness is not. So get out there and lift some shit. Thanks, Dan Casey.
I like
Hope
that.
to see you
Thank
soon,
you, bro.
brother. Thank you.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Great having you.
Awesome. Thanks for watching today's MarbleCast. We hope you enjoyed this episode. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any content. Check out our Spreadshirt shop to grab some swag, and if you would like to support the MarbleCast, please head over to anchor.fm. All of the links are in the description, and it helps us out to keep the channel running. Thanks so much, guys. See you next time.